Based on a real event, this story takes place in North Carolina in 1997. David Gaunt is an armored truck driver working for a company called Loomis Fargo, spending his days moving cash from banks to ATMs. The job is painfully repetitive, and David is completely bored with his routine. Every day feels the same, picking up money and dropping it off. Out of sheer boredom, he starts daydreaming about being robbed on the job and heroically taking down the criminals like in the movies. In reality, though, his life is about as straight and uneventful as it gets. Everything changes when David notices a new employee at Loomis Fargo named Kelly. He is instantly captivated by her.
It seemed like a total dream. I used to fantasize about getting robbed in the line of duty. But that's all it was, just a dream. Pick it up, drop it off, repeat. Pick it up, drop it off, repeat. My name is David Gant, Miss Kelly Campbell.
Before long, the two get to know each other and casually talk about a robbery that happened months earlier at a Loomis Fargo branch in Florida. That crime was pulled off by another armored truck driver named Philip, who managed to steal $18.8 million. Inspired by the story, David and Kelly even practiced shooting together, nearly ending in disaster when David almost shoots himself.
What do you say, you and me rob Loomis Fargo?
Well, for one thing, we could get fired, right?
Okay, you're good. You're all right.
David then heads home, where it is revealed that he is already engaged to a woman named Jandice. The two of them are just as quirky as each other, which becomes obvious during their unusual pre-wedding photo shoot.
Let's take some pictures.
Good Lord, Jandice!
The next day at work, David and Kelly are harshly scolded by their boss, who aggressively yells at David for being slow to get started. Kelly refuses to stay quiet and steps in to defend him. This only makes the boss angrier, and he threatens to fire her for talking back. Kelly does not seem to care at all, even mocking her boss with reckless behavior. Things spiral further when Kelly accidentally fires a gun and nearly hits the boss. That is the final straw. She is officially fired and ordered to return her uniform. Before leaving, David asks for her phone number so they can stay in touch. By this point, he has already started to fall for her.
Hey, what's going on in here? You're fired.
Wait, what'd you say to him? Fire me, Ashley.
Okay.
Fire me. Sexual dancing.
Okay, you're fired now.
Get your phone number, just to have it.
Yeah.
Here you go.
3 weeks later, Kelly is staying at the home of her childhood friend Steve, along with his wife Michelle, their child, and two friends named Eric and Ronnie. One day, they watch the news announcing that Philip has finally been arrested after being found hiding in Mexico. Instead of being scared, Steve feels inspired. He starts thinking about robbing the Loomis Fargo vault himself as a way to fix his family's financial problems. To make that happen, he asks Kelly, as a former employee, to help connect him with someone on the inside. After giving it some thought, Kelly agrees. There is only one insider who can help them, and that person is David.
But you must have made contact.
I mean, there's a guy at work that likes me, I guess. I don't flirt with him.
That sounds promising.
She contacts him and asks to meet at a cafe. After some casual conversation, Kelly mentions that her friend sitting behind her has an idea. Without turning around, Steve explains his plan to rob the Loomis Fargo vault with David's help, since David has the keys. David refuses at first. He knows the money in the vault belongs to the banks, and robbing Loomis Fargo is essentially the same as robbing a bank, which comes with a minimum sentence of 7 years in prison. Kelly gently holds his hand and asks him to think about it more carefully.
I also think it's an incredible opportunity. Just think about it.
Later on, while David and Jandice are trying on wedding outfits, Kelly calls him and tells him how much she misses him. She then lays out a fantasy, running away together to Mexico and eventually living in Brazil after stealing all the money from the vault. David is left stunned, imagining a happy life with Kelly. In that moment, overwhelmed by desire and dreams of escape, he finally agrees to the robbery plan.
I guess I just miss you a little bit.
Kelly, that'd be the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
2 lovers on the lam in Mexico.
Kelly, I'm in.
With one reckless decision, David's ordinary life quietly slips out of control. This is Masterminds. David begins preparing for the robbery in earnest. He practices shooting and carefully plans every step with Kelly.
Get your immune system built up.
That's not bad.
When the day finally arrives, David waits until his coworker Ty leaves for the night. As soon as the coast is clear, he gives the signal to Kelly, Steve, Ronnie, and Eric. David then goes back into the building and opens the vault, which holds roughly $17 million. As David starts loading the money into the armored truck, Ty unexpectedly returns because he forgot to sign out. Luckily, Ty does not suspect a thing, since David casually claims he is picking up extra work hours.
You said it wasn't no overtime this weekend.
Ty, listen here. This ain't what you think, buddy.
Sneaky ass.
For the next 2 hours, David continues moving every last stack of cash into the truck. Once the vault is empty, David destroys the security cameras and their recordings, unaware that one camera and one tape are still intact. The truck is so full of money that the rear door will not close. As David struggles to force it shut, he accidentally locks himself inside, with his walkie-talkie left outside. With no other option, he finds a way through the narrow reinforced window. Using tape, he bundles stacks of cash together to press down on the gas pedal. The plan works, the truck rolls out, and his crew quickly rescues him.
I'm locked in!
The next step is escape. David is told to flee to Mexico with $20,000 hidden in his underwear. He is given a fake identity under the name Michael McKinney and disguises himself with a wig and contact lenses. Once he arrives in Mexico, the rest of the money is supposed to be sent to him, and Kelly promises she will join him soon. At the airport, David manages to pass through security without any trouble. He even casually buys snacks using the cash hidden on him.
So my name's Michael McKinney now.
Okay, you're good to go, sir.
Have a good day. My bad.
Back at Loomis Fargo, FBI agent Scanlon and her partner arrive to investigate the crime. They discover that one recording was left behind. After learning that David is engaged, they head straight to the home of his fiancée, Jandis. Meanwhile, Steve, Michael, and the others celebrate as they stare at the $17 million now sitting in their house. News reports announce the Loomis Fargo robbery as one of the largest cash heists in American history. David's face is broadcast everywhere, and the police begin an all-out search for him. Scanlon meets with Jandis and shows her the footage of David committing the robbery. She asks if Jandis knows where David is or what motivated him. Jandis, however, genuinely knows nothing. In Mexico, David lives it up. He relaxes in luxury hotels, eats expensive food, and enjoys the high life using his $20,000. Twice a week, he contacts Kelly from public phone booths to avoid being tracked. He keeps asking when she will join him, but she only continues to stall. After one of those calls ends, Steve approaches Kelly with a wanted poster and a reward notice he has prepared. He plans to turn David in, blaming him for failing to destroy all the security footage. Steve wants to make sure that he, Kelly, Eric, and Ronnie stay out of prison. From the beginning, his real intention was to use David and quietly enjoy the stolen money without attracting suspicion. At the Mexican hotel, Interpol agents working with the FBI managed to trace David's location. When David sees his face on a wanted notice, he panics and escapes by jumping onto a fishing boat, narrowly avoiding capture.
How you doing, Jorg?
While David is on the run, Steve and his wife, Michelle, are busy living it up with their millions. They spend freely on expensive clothes, luxury cars, a lavish house, and high-end furniture. After that, Steve tells Kelly that she no longer needs to wait for David's calls, suggesting that he has probably been caught and is sitting in a Mexican prison. Not long after, the phone rings again. David is still alive and now using a new disguise. He explains that he is being chased and is hiding in a small town in Mexico. His $20,000 is nearly gone, so he asks for more money and urges Kelly to come join him as soon as possible. Later, David checks the wallet Kelly gave him before he left. Inside, he finds a gym membership card that belongs to Steve, complete with Steve's photo. The moment Steve realizes that David now knows his real face and identity, he panics. If David is captured, Steve knows he could be dragged down with him. Feeling threatened, Steve hires an old acquaintance, a hitman named Michael McKinney, the exact same name as the fake identity David is using. Steve shows him a photo of David and tells him the small Mexican town where the man can be found, but never reveals his real name. He simply hands over the picture and the location. Michael is a deeply unhinged assassin who prefers to make his victims suffer rather than killing them quickly. Meanwhile, Agent Scanlon interrogates David's coworker Ty. During the investigation, it is revealed that the $17 million stolen from the vault does not belong to the banks at all, but to federal agents. Scanlon becomes convinced that David had help. She asks if David was close to anyone, and Ty recalls that David once had a close relationship with a female employee who was fired, although he cannot remember her name. Before long, Michael arrives in the small town in Mexico. He stops by a gun shop, and despite the many modern weapons available, he chooses an old, outdated firearm simply because it looks cooler. When he finally tracks down David and attempts to shoot him from a distance, the gun backfires and shoots Michael instead.
Train is coming down to Mexico.
Realizing someone is trying to kill him, David escapes by clinging onto a moving truck, causing chaos on the road. Once things calm down, David contacts Kelly again and tells her that someone else is hunting him. Kelly finally reveals the truth. Steve was the one who hired the hitman to eliminate David so he would not be pulled into prison. She also admits that she only just realized Steve planned to take all the stolen money for himself and that David had been used from the very beginning. Kelly apologizes and explains that she will not be coming to Mexico, claiming that there was never a real relationship between them. David is furious, feeling that she played with his emotions as well. From that moment on, he cuts off all contact with her. David spirals into anger, heartbreak, and isolation, drifting through his days with no direction. Eventually, Michael returns and knocks him unconscious, abducting him.
To know that I think that.
Just shut up, Kelly. Just shut up.
Wait, Dave.
But when Michael prepares to torment and kill David, he is stunned to discover that David's fake identity perfectly matches his own, including the full name, place of birth, and date of birth. Overwhelmed, Michael breaks down, apologizes, and sees their meeting as fate. The two end up bonding like brothers, spending time together at the beach. Before leaving, Michael even gives David money to help him survive under his false identity. After everything that happens, David manages to get Steve's phone number and contacts him directly. He demands his share of the robbery, $6 million, to be transferred within 2 days to a Mexican bank account he has already set up. If the money does not arrive, David plans to turn himself into the police and names Steve as the mastermind behind the robbery. Elsewhere, Agent Scanlon and her partner question Kelly, suspecting that she helped with the crime. Kelly insists that she and David were just friends and claims that if anyone assisted him, it must have been an employee who was still working at Loomis Fargo at the time. Despite that, guilt weighs on her, and she eventually decides to go to Mexico to be with David. That same day, Kelly applies for a passport and buys clothes and personal items for the trip. Unexpectedly, Jandice turns out to be working at the same store. Believing Kelly stole her fiancé, Jandice attacks her. A violent struggle breaks out, and Kelly manages to win the fight.
Congratulations! No!
You're crazy!
Will the parents...
However, as Kelly leaves the store, Steve's associate Eric quickly captures her. Back in Mexico, David checks his bank account and finds that it is still empty. Furious, he contacts Steve and threatens to turn himself in immediately. Steve remains calm, revealing that Kelly has been kidnapped. He explains that Kelly was planning to travel to Mexico to join David, and now demands that David leave for another country in South America to stay hidden until things cool down. If David refuses, Kelly will be harmed. David feels both anger and relief, knowing that Kelly truly intended to come to him, but he has no choice but to comply to protect her.
Lovely Kelly Campbell.
I ain't got no interest in talking to her.
I just caught Kelly. Got a ticket to Cancun and was...
David prepares to fly to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, but airport security alerts Interpol after recognizing his face from wanted posters. By chance, David runs into Michael again, who is on his way back to the United States for another contract killing. It turns out Steve ordered Michael to eliminate Kelly. When David claims Kelly is his girlfriend, Michael immediately cancels the job. David then asks to swap plane tickets so he can return to the United States and save her. Soon after, 3 Interpol agents arrive. Seeing that his look-alike is in danger, Michael helps David fight them off.
This gal, you know Kelly Campbell?
She's my girlfriend.
Hey, come here.
I can be my own trouble sometimes, you know?
Once back in the United States, David heads straight to Steve's new house, where a housewarming party is underway. At the same time, Scanlon uncovers evidence that Steve, his wife Michelle, and several associates were involved in the robbery. To get a confession, she recruits a married couple who live in Steve's neighborhood. They are wired with microphones and sent in to casually draw Steve into revealing where his money came from. Meanwhile, David disguises himself as a neighbor, wearing his hair tied back, a suit and glasses, after stealing someone else's invitation. Once inside, he hides a weapon on himself and sneaks away. He knocks out Ronnie, who is guarding the room where Kelly's being held. David then breaks into the room and frees her. The party descends into chaos when Ronnie is discovered, bound and calling for help, and David suddenly appears. In the confusion, David accidentally fires his gun, causing all the guests to panic and flee. Seizing the moment, David escapes with Kelly by stealing Steve's car. He attempts to crash through the front gate, but it turns out to be far stronger than expected, and the car fails to break through.
Hey! Up here, you big dang dog!
Just messed with the...
Steve suddenly grabs David and drags him away, unaware that an FBI vehicle is parked nearby with agents inside. David deliberately provokes Steve, pushing him until Steve finally loses control and admits that he was the true mastermind behind the robbery. The FBI records everything as Steve openly confesses to planning the heist, laundering the stolen money, and even hiring a hitman to eliminate David. Not long after that chaotic day, David, Steve, Michelle, and the rest of the crew are all sent to prison, each to a different facility. Before they are separated, David and Kelly have one last moment together. Overwhelmed by emotion, David declares how far he was willing to go for her, even if it meant robbing every bank in existence. They share a final kiss, and Kelly promises to write to him every single week. David serves 7 years behind bars. On his first day, he is terrified by the intimidating inmates around him, fearing for his life. To his surprise, the other prisoners respect him. Among criminals, David is seen as a legend, known for pulling off one of the biggest cash robberies in American history. Meanwhile, journalists begin questioning the mysterious disappearance of $2.6 million from the total stolen amount. Unbeknownst to anyone, when David broke into Steve's house during the rescue, he secretly sank a barrel filled with cash into a nearby lake. After 7 long years in prison, David is finally released. The person who comes to pick him up is Michael. The very first person David wants to see after gaining his freedom is Kelly. At the end of the story, viewers are given updates on the real-life Loomis Fargo robbers. Steve is sentenced to 11 years in prison and later becomes a gym owner. David returns to a quiet life in Florida, occasionally working as a consultant on heist movies. The Loomis Fargo case goes down as the largest cash robbery in American history. So the moral of the story is, if work is boring, do not rob a vault or trust crushes and friends, because you might accidentally speedrun life into prison fame.